Greetings. I hope all is well. Greetings, and welcome to another story time with Dr. Tinsley. I hope all is doing well. It's Monday. It was raining very hard here earlier and storming, and it's beautiful now. The sun is shining. Everything's blooming. So I'm grateful for another day. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday weekend, those that celebrate. And we're here to share another day of story. Excuse me. So let's begin. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. In the stories that I read every day. Welcome to Storytime. I truly do hope that my shine comes through to you through the stories that I read, because I love children's literature and I love children. So when you put the two together, wow, it's a perfect match. So I feel really happy and sunny to bring you stories every day. So the next story is a retake of a favorite story that children love. Excuse me, this is a Southwestern version, and it's called Los Tres Pequenos, Jabalies, or the Three Little Javelinas, and it's by Susan Lowell. This is a story in both English and Spanish, and obviously I'm going to read you the English version. But I do want to give you a little background. It said this is a Southwestern adaptation of a familiar folk tale, a chili flavored The Three Little Pigs. Javelinas are New World relatives of pigs that range from the southwestern United States down to the tip of South America. Javelinas are extremely bristly, very hairy on the chinny chin, and they're also related to the hippopotamus. And this story takes place in the Sonoran Desert, where Native American, Mexican, and Anglo cultures blend together. And so they've tried to capture the spirit of the Southwest in all the illustrations and the words. So here we go. Los Tres Pequenos Jabalies, or the Three Little Javelinas. Once upon a time, way out in the desert, there were three little javelinas. Javelinas are wild, hairy, southwestern cousins of pigs. Their heads were hairy, their backs were hairy, and their bony legs all the way down to their hard little hoofs were very hairy. But their snouts were soft and pink. One day, the three little javelinas trotted away to seek their fortunes. In this hot, dry land, the sky was almost always blue. Steep purple mountains looked down on the desert where the cactus forest grew. Soon, the little javelinas came to a spot where the path divided and each one went a different way. The first little javelina wandered lazily along. He didn't see a dust storm whirling across the desert until it caught him. The whirlwind blew away and left the first little javelina sitting in a heap of tumbleweeds. Brushing himself off, he said, "I'll build a house with them." And in no time at all, he did. Then along came a coyote. He ran through the desert so quickly and so quietly that he was almost invisible. In fact, this was only one of Coyote's many magical tricks. He laughed when he saw the tumbleweed house and smelled the javelina inside. A tender, juicy piggy, he thought. Coyote was tired of eating mice and rabbits. He called out sweetly, little pig, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," shouted the first javelina. who had a lot of hair in his chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in, said Coyote. And he huffed and he puffed and he blew the little tumbleweed house away. But in all the hullabaloo, the first little javelina escaped and went looking for his brother and sister. Coyote, who was very sneaky, tiptoed along behind. The second little javelina walked for miles around giant cactus plants called saguaros. They held their ripe fruit high in the sky, but they made almost no shade, and the little javelina grew hot. Then he came upon a Native American woman who was gathering sticks from inside a dried-up cactus. She planned to use these long sticks, called saguaros ribs, to knock down the sweet cactus fruit. The second little javelina said, "Please, may I have some sticks to build a house?" "Hau," she said, which means yes in the language of the desert people. When he was finished building his house, he lay down in the shade. Then his brother arrived, panting from the heat, and the second little javelina moved over and made a place for him. Pretty soon, Coyote found the saguaro rib house. He used his magic to make his voice sound just like another javelina's. Little pig, let me come in," he called. But the little javelinas were suspicious. The second one cried, "No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." "Bah," thought Coyote, "I'm not going to eat your hair." Then Coyote smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. "I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." So he huffed and he puffed, and all the saguaro ribs came tumbling down. But the two little javelinas escaped into the desert. Still not discouraged, Coyote followed. Sometimes his magic did fail, but then he usually came up with another trick. The third little javelina trotted through beautiful Palo Verde trees with green trunks and yellow flowers. She saw snakes sliding by smooth as oil. A hawk floated around, and round above her. Then she came to a place where a man was making adobe bricks from mud and straw. The bricks lay on the ground, baking in the hot sun. The third little javelina thought for a moment and said, "May I please have a few adobes to build a house?" "Sí," answered the man, which means yes in Spanish, the brickmaker's language. So the third javelina built herself a solid little adobe house, cool in summer and warm in winter. When her brothers found her, she welcomed them in and locked the door behind them. Coyote followed their trail. Little pig, let me come in," he called. The three little javelinas looked out the window. This time, Coyote pretended to be very old and weak with no teeth and a sore paw. But they were not fooled. "No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin," called back the third little javelina. "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said Coyote. He grinned, thinking of the wild pig dinner to come. "Just try it," shouted the third little javelina. So Coyote huffed and puffed, but the adobe bricks did not budge. Again, Coyote tried. I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. The three little Javelinas covered their hairy ears, but nothing happened. The Javelinas peeked out the window. The tip of Coyote's raggedy tail whisked right past their noses. He was climbing upon the tin roof. Next, Coyote used his magic to make himself very skinny. The stovepipe, gasped the third little Javelina. Quickly, she lighted a fire inside her wood stove. What a feast it will be, Coyote said to himself. He squeezed into the stovepipe. I think I'll eat them with red-hot chili sauce. Whoosh! Sizzle! Then the three little Javelinas heard an amazing noise. It was not a bark. It was not a cackle. It was not a howl. It was not a scream. It was all of those sounds together. Yip, yap, yeep, yow! Away ran a puff of smoke shaped like a coyote. The three little Javelinas lived happily ever after in the adobe house. And if you ever hear Coyote's voice way out in the desert at night, woohoo, woohoo, well, you know what? He's remembering. And that's the story of Los Tres Pequenos Jabalies, or the three little Javelinas. So this is a folk tale, and I have a second folk tale to read to you as well. Hi, Catherine, Aunt Carol, and my cousin Cindy. And to anyone else watching, hello. Hey, Charles. I can't see most of the people that log on, but to anybody that's logged on, hello, and I hope you're enjoying the story. So that was a Southwestern folk tale, and this is an African folk tale. Many of you have heard the Anansi stories. Excuse me. Well, this story is Anansi and his children, retold by Bonnie Dobkin. And I've read you a lot of her books. I love her illustrations and her stories. Far, far away in the land of the Ashanti, there once lived a most marvelous creature. His name was Anansi, and he was a spider. I love the way she does the eyes. Some said Anansi was wise. After all, he had lived a long time and was great friends with Nyami, the god of all things. Some said Anansi was clever. After all, he could weave marvelous webs and spin magical stories. Some said Anansi was a mischief maker. After all, he loved to play tricks on both enemies and friends, and sometimes on his own family. The truth was, Anansi was all of these things. He was wise, and he was clever, and he was a mischief maker. But Anansi was also a father, and he had 6 children whom he loved very much. Each had a name that described a special talent. The first child was called Sea Trouble because that's what he could do. The second child was called Road Builder. She could build paths through and to anything. The third child was River Drinker. He could drain a river down to its rocky bottom. The fourth child was Game Skinner. No matter what animal he fought, he won. The fifth child was Stone Thrower. She could pick up a stone no matter how large, then throw it far and high. And the sixth child was called Cushion because he was very, very soft. One day, Anansi found a strange glowing orb in the forest. How beautiful, he said. I will give it to one of my children. But who? He thought and thought. I know, said clever Nancy. I'll go far away and my children will think I'm lost. Whoever loves me most will come to find me, and that child will receive the orb. So Anansi set off. But before he had gone far, wind came rushing across the plains. He picked Anansi up and spun him through the air with all his 8 legs twirling. Ho, ho, Anansi, said Wind. It's time somebody played a trick on you. Wind took Anansi across the plains, through a forest, and over a mountain. Then he dropped Anansi by the side of a river. Goodbye, Anansi, laughed Wind. Have a nice walk home. But Anansi was very dizzy from the spinning and twirling. Before he knew it, he tumbled into the river. Oh no, said Anansi, rolling with all his 8 legs to get back to the shore. But before he could reach land, a big fish saw him wriggling, swam up, and swallowed him. Back at home, Sea Trouble saw what had happened. Father is in trouble, he cried. We must go and save him. Road Builder hopped into action. She spun a path across the plains, through the forest, over the mountains, and to the river. Now River Drinker went to work draining the water. Soon the fish was flopping on the rocky bottom. Now Skinner split the fish wide open. Out popped Anansi. My wonderful children, he cried. But before he could hug them with any of his 8 legs, a falcon swooped down from the sky. Not again, cried Anansi as he was carried into the air. Now it was Stone Thrower's turn. She snatched up a heavy stone and threw it with all her might. Cushion scrambled underneath. She threw it with all her might. The stone hit the bird, who screeched and squawked and dropped Anansi. Cushion scrambled underneath to protect his father from the fall. What a happy tangle there was, as Anansi hugged his children with all his 8 legs. But then Anansi realized he had a problem. Whom would he give the orb to? He called out to Niami, the god of all things. Help me, Niami. Whom shall I choose? After all, Sea Trouble saw my danger and called for help. Road Builder brought my children to me. River Drinker drained the river that hid me. Game Skinner opened the fish that swallowed me. Stone Thrower saved me from the bird's claws. And Cushion caught me when I fell. Wise Niami answered, Then all of your children deserve the treasure. Give the orb to me. I will place it in the sky for all of them to enjoy. And the moon is still there to this very day. And that's Anansi and his children. So that's an African folk tale that tells you why the moon is in the sky. I hope you enjoyed those stories today. Hi again, Catherine, Aunt Carol, Cindy. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you. And to anyone else watching, I hope you all had a wonderful day, enjoying your day, enjoying your also a great week of being quarantined. Come up with different things to do every day. Be creative. Utilize this time to slow down and do the things that you can do in your home that make you happy. Think about the things that brought you happiness when you were young. This is to the adults. The things that brought you happiness when you were an adult. When you were a child, most of those things don't cost any money. So think about what of those things you can do in your home or right in your neighborhood, in your backyard, or on your patio or your deck right now, and do it. In the meantime, be well, stay healthy, stay mentally strong. For the children, keep reading. Read, and read some more. You can never read too much. The more you read of different types of literature, different types of books, the smarter you get. Keep that in mind. I always ask children, what's the last book you read? And many times children will say their school book. So learn to read for fun and enjoyment. And with that said, I bring this day to a close for you, and I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 5 o'clock, Storytime Live with Dr. Tinsley. Be well. Peace.